And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now all this week, we've been telling you it's all about heroes and heroines, champions in their own right. And if ever there was a champion in the category of literature and writing, it's my guest today. And every time he comes to the country, it's always an honor and a privilege to have him on. Remember back in the day, and I know most of my generation were raised on his books, from Weep Not Child way back in 1964 to A Grain of Wheat, The River Between, Devil on a Cross, which was originally done in Kikuyu, by the way, before it was translated, and on and on and on. In fact, two books, Devil on a Cross and A Grain of Wheat, were voted two of the best African books of the 20th century, of the last 100 years. Imagine that. This man is prolific, he's amazing. And then when he wrote a fictional book called The Crow and the Wizard last year, The Wizard and the Crow. Great sell, top sell. Now, the book everyone's been waiting for, just been released. It's actually a first part of his autobiography. It's called Dreams in a Time of War, a childhood memoir. And this is just part one. There's gonna be part two and maybe even part three. It's just out in your bookstores. Go get it, pick it up because it's a great read. And the man is literally just landed in town. The legend himself, Ngũgĩ, Thiong'o.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you, sir.
Nice seeing you.
Well done.
You again,
My goodness. You know, the last time you were on the bench, you said you were working on your autobiography.
Oh yes, yeah. This is the one I was working on.
This is it?
Yeah, this is it now. We talked about it the last time.
Yes,
you remember? We mentioned it.
Correct.
What I was going to do, and then here it is.
Wow. Dreams.
The dream itself. Or dreams themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Oh my, it's such a great read, Ngũgĩ. I mean, I must tell you, it's such a fantastic read.
Oh,
it's easy to understand, and the characters come to life.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, what I really wanted to do was to give a feel how it felt like to be born just before the Second World War, to a childhood under that particular war, then immediately after the war to go through the Mau Mau War of Liberation War against the British colonial state, how it felt like to be a child and to go to school under those conditions. Yeah.
It's so important because a lot of us forget or just don't know what life was like back then.
I know, and I'll tell you a story. At least why I wrote the book, actually. It's also we have two, my wife Jerry and I, we have two young kids, or born in New Jersey in America, Mombi and Thiong'o. Now, I was trying to motivate them when they were young and going to school by telling the kind of hardships that I went through. So I told Thiong'o first, I used to go for 6 miles. Remember, 6 miles without shoes. 6 miles. To motivate him, to know that it's very difficult, don't take anything for granted anymore. But instead of being, he turns around and says, but Daddy, why couldn't your parents drive you to school? And Mombi, why did they not buy you shoes? What kind of parents were they? Now, what happened actually is very interesting because later, because of that, we later took them to Mango to stay with my wife's sister. So they went to a regular school, St. Francis, a regular school where they had to see other children going on foot. Yeah. They had to carry water like other children to go and pour on the dusty floor of their school and so on. When they came back, they never asked me again why my parents could not buy me shoes or why they could not drive me to school. Yeah. Now, but from then, my wife started telling me, you must write your story, not only for our children here, because now that they know, for all children, for your grandchildren, for all children in Kenya and other places, so they can know what you people went through.
And you've done it, Prof. You've done it.
So this is the result of that kind of conversation and experience.
Okay, let me ask you this, Prof. and I don't want to give too much of the book away because
Yeah,
it's
right.
so sweet, but at the end, it ends as you see or as you're arriving at Alliance High School. The big
Right.
signboard
Right.
after you had missed your train or you had been kicked off the train.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah. I went here.
Go on.
Yeah, because I went to school I went to Alliance High School in a goods train, or rather at the back of a goods train. I didn't go by a passenger train
Right.
because in those days, as you know, or Kenyan people or Africans, especially members of the Kikuyu, Embu, and community,
Yes.
you could not travel from point A to point B without a pass.
Correct.
So, even though I was going to Alliance High School, I did not have a pass then. So I was stopped by the officer at Limuru railway station.
Even though you had your
cannot-
school papers, everything?
Every school papers, they were there, I was together with some other students who were also from Limuru, Wanjai and Lizi Nyambura. They were going there. So I saw them get in the train, and I stood there, as I say in the book actually,
Yes.
and watched the train go by. Fortunately, as I read in the book, I don't know whether you know Chris Kahara.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he used to be the mayor
Yes.
of Nairobi, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, he was then a really official in Limuru, and he's the one who somehow or other, I don't know who contacted him or how he came to know, but he's the one who smuggled me in the next train that came. I mean, goods train.
Yes.
So I went to Alliance High School, accompanied by workers' clothes, and tools,
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's how I, yeah. So when I talk, by the way, in my work I talk about workers and peasants.
Yes.
People say it's because of Karl Marx, but I went to school accompanied by workers' clothes.
And peasants.
And I came from a peasant family. Because one of the most important figures here in autobiography is my mother,
Yes.
Wanjiko.
Yes.
And I would like every child to read this book because I believe it will be motivational also. But the most important figure is my mother, Wanjiko, who could not read or write. But she's the one who sent me to school.
Yeah.
And she followed my progress, supervised my homework, always made sure that she asked probing questions about my progress in school and so on.
Yeah.
And she was in so many ways a very remarkable person.
Wow.
Yeah.
All mothers, I tell you,
Yeah,
Prof.
right.
All mothers.
Yeah,
Remarkable.
absolutely.
Now tell me, obviously there's part 2 coming. Are you going to divide this into 3 parts or is this?
No, what I want to do is I've done this first part, which is really how I grew up, and the Mau Mau War, and again people read for themselves because many of the characters are there. Some of my brothers were involved in the Mau Mau War against the British colonial state and so on. But thereafter, I want to move to the next volume, which is Alliance High School. Okay.
Yes.
Again, how it felt like to be at Alliance High School between 1955 and 1959. Being at one of the 2 best African schools in Kenya at the time,
Yeah.
almost protected. But whenever one went outside the gates of Alliance High School, you enter into the world you thought you had left behind. The world of, of gunfire, the world of screenings, the world of people being sent to detention, the world of villages being burned down. That's the world in which, one went to every time you left Alliance High School, or every time you went outside the gates of Alliance High School, you entered the other world, the world of the war going on.
Yes, like hell almost.
Yeah. The world of people. Okay, as I said, villages being burnt down, the world of bombs being dropped,
dropped,
on fighters in in Nyandarua and Mount Kenya and so on. The world of villages, concentration villages, as I'm calling them, as well as concentration camps, or the internal displacement. What the British, honestly, or the British colonial state did to Kenyans at the time was as if they had read every single page from Hitler's own book.
Mein Kampf.
Yeah, I mean, if it was today, Britain would have been accused of war crimes.
Yeah, and crimes against humanity.
Crimes against, there's no doubt about it. You know, what they did with displacement. For instance, the whole of what was called Central Kenya at the time, or Central Province. Remember, it was completely, disorganized, complete displacement of peoples and so on. Not to mention those, of course, who went to concentration camps in Manyani and other places.
Correct. My family.
Oh yes, of course, your family. Was.
And many other families, Professor.
But now we're talking concretely about your family. But it's true, they represent, what really was going on all over the country.
And they got away with it, Professor.
Huh?
They got away with it.
Yeah. Oh yes.
The British.
Because then there was no Hague. But now they would be accused of crimes against humanity.
Is that why, in the end, those who fought, the Mau Mau warriors and the women and all those who played a role, never got their just dues in the end?
In a way, by Kenya getting independence, since what they were, remember they were fighting for land and freedom. Right. So by Kenya getting independence, that's in a way a reward. But in terms of the fact that people are still poor in Kenya, there's still poverty, there's landlessness, there is that we can say then that part of what they fought for has never really been realized.
And the home guards are the ones who ended up ruling.
Well, some anyway.
Some of them.
Some of them anyway. But most important, what were the ideas that people were fighting for? The idea of everybody being able to have, a place in which to live, being able to have a piece of land, being able to get good education. In other words, somebody being or living in Kenya as a human being. So whenever I see, as I see in Kenya today, for instance, that the gap between the wealthy and the poor, that gap is widening and deepening and so on. To know that for every skyscraper in Kenya, in Nairobi, there is poverty or shacks all around and so on, is really to make me and others realize that in fact the ideals for which people fought against the colonial state have never really been fulfilled. And I think it's our bounden duty, I really believe. It's about, not the British, although they owe us whatever they owe us, but honestly, it's our bounden duty as Kenyans, to come up with a vision and a practice that means that people of all communities in Kenya, that poverty among them has been ameliorated.
Professor, I want to talk more about that, and especially now that we have a new constitution. Will this change things? Will it change things much? And I want your thoughts on that after the break, Professor. And also, my goodness, what motivates you to do all this? I mean, what drives Ngũgĩ Thiong'o now? You keep taking things to the next level. First, let's take a break. Did I mention he's director? How can I forget? Director of International Center of Writing and Translation at the University of California at Irvine. This man, what a hero, what a champion. Now he's come out with the first part of his autobiography, Dreams in a Time of War. Sounds a lot like Dreams from My Father by that other famous son of a Kenyan father. I tell you, the bench this week, heroes, heroines, we're back with Ngũgĩ Thiong'o in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. All this week we're talking to heroes and heroines, and there is none other greater hero than the hero of writing and literature. He raised a whole generation from days of petals of blood, devil on the cross, grain of wheat, river between. You can go on and on. Now, his own autobiography. The first part, Dreams in a Time of War. Ngũgĩ Thiong'o in town. Sit back. You know, it reminds me a lot of dreams from my father, Barack Obama.
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting because, Barack's father is of my generation.
Barack Obama Senior.
Yeah, he was of my generation. I don't think I know him. He knew him personally, but we are the same generation. So Obama could have been my son.
Yeah.
How do I know this? I don't know the journalist Philip Ochieng.
Yes, indeed. He's still writing.
Yeah, he's still writing.
Well, very
yeah,
well, yes.
By the way, we went to Alliances together. We were there for 4 years together with Philip Ochieng.
Oh.
But anyway, Philip Ochieng, when I went to Makerere, Philip Ochieng went to America. And they rode in the same plane. They were on the same flight with Obama's father. Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He is of my generation. Yeah, right.
What history.
Yeah, history is very,
Okay, speaking of history, Professor, we have a new constitution.
Oh, great.
Can you imagine? After
Yeah.
nearly 50 years of independence, we have a new constitution.
Yeah.
What do you think of it? Is it going to change things much?
No, first of all, it's important that we have a constitution which is now made through Kenyans' participation. That the constitution was more or less given to us, in a way, although it was negotiated at Lancaster and so on. But there's a way in which this was Kenyan's own constitution, okay? Now, but the two things I like to say about the new constitution, although I have not read all the details, first, and I think Kenyans ought to realize that a constitution is a fundamental law of the land. So although there are those who voted yes and others who voted no, there's no such a thing as we defeated them.
Right.
This is not a question. A fundamental of the land has nothing to do with defeat or victory. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's important for people to realize that for those who voted no, they voted out of their convictions.
Correct.
And those who voted yes, out of their convictions. Now we have a constitution and it's for everybody. Secondly, I think it's very important for us to realize that this is a first step. That a constitution, matures with age, meaning with additions and improvements and so on. But it's still the fundamental law of the land. Third, what's important in Kenya is a democratic culture, because even the best constitution in the world, the best, cannot make a democratic culture. It can help, but ultimately we have to develop real democratic institutions, a democratic culture, a culture that respects, above all, differences of opinion. Okay.
Yes.
Sometimes we forget that even in a family, and I would challenge anybody who is listening to tell me whether in their own family, whether there are no conflicts. Yeah. Every household, has conflicts, either between the father and mother, between parents and children, or among the children. But they don't sort of get pangas and start hacking each other.
Correct.
So we can think of Kenya and Africa as a larger family where we still have conflict, we shall continue to have conflict, but it's how we resolve them. That's what decides who we are as Kenyans or as African people.
Absolutely. Well put, Professor. Well put. Did you think we would get a constitution in your lifetime? Because look, you were jailed a lot of times. You were detained. You wrote about detentions. Now that will never happen to you in this country. It will never happen to you.
Well,
did you ever think?
Remember what I said, that what do you call it? Freedom is, as a result, eternal vigilance.
Yes.
You know, we must be vigilant all the time. You know,
Yes.
so because even a constitution can be undone. Okay, because we know many countries where constitutions have been undone either by military interventions or by a strong person or a strong guy and so on. But what we can say is we have something to build upon. Okay?
Yeah.
And we have a vision. If we, this is accompanied by the vision of saying, look, the gap between the rich and the poor must not deepen and widen. You know, that wherever that we must look at, and I think I've said this before in our previous meeting, that we must look at progress and development, not from the standpoint of those at the top of the mountain, but from the standpoint of those who are at the bottom of the mountain. That's really, if we can build a vision rooted in a sense that progress and development must come from those, or we must measure development and progress from those at the bottom of the mountain and not those at the top of the mountain. This constitution then will provide, become better, and in fact will provide the framework necessary for the realization of such a vision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the line you used the last time, Professor, was eternal vigilance is the price of freedom.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, eternal.
You see, I listen sometimes. I do pay attention.
I couldn't remember quite the wording, but I think that's the correct one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
At the same time, Professor, our forefathers, those you write about in this book here, those who fought for this country, you think they would be proud of where we have come as a nation right now?
Some things, yes. But some other things they would not be proud of. They would not be proud of the fact that there are beggars in the streets of Nairobi, that there are, there's Mathare Valley or Kibera and similar type. I don't think you'll be proud of that. I don't think you'll be proud of that. You know. They're proud of other things, of course.
Yeah.
Because remember also, we must not forget that actually we have also made tremendous progress.
Sure.
There are many more schools in the country. Those of us who grew up in the colonial Kenya knew a time when if you went through immigration, you couldn't find a single African. Okay?
Yeah.
When you went to university colleges, you could not find a single African, anywhere, So there is tremendous progress. But there's also tremendous backwardness, okay? Tremendous backwardness. And so if those people are alive today to say, yes, this and this is good, but how come that we fought so that, people can have clothes, can have shelter, can have a piece of land, or work, can go to good medical school, medical hospitals and so on.
Yeah.
How come? I think they would ask those kind of questions. I think they would be horrified by corruption, for instance.
Yes.
See, because remember, and again, it comes across in this book. The schools I went to, like Ngũgĩ and other places, the independent schools in Kenya, those people, those elders used to sacrifice. They gave, they didn't go to ask to be given, they gave. Okay?
Yes.
The schools where, on which, the land on which the schools like Ngũgĩ and others like Thiong'o and so on, people gave their own land. They said, come and build here. Okay?
Yes.
So they gave, they didn't receive. Okay?
Absolutely.
So whatever, for instance, whatever they met, in places like Rironi and other places, they used to, instead of expecting to be given anything for attending those meetings, they gave something in order to attend those meetings.
And that culture changed over the years.
Yeah, and that's the culture really we want in this country.
Yeah.
The culture of if you're in leadership, to know that leadership is not being worshipped. No, that's not leadership.
No.
If you are worshipped anywhere, or you walk anywhere, feeling that you must be worshipped, or we must come to you and beg you, that's not leadership at all.
That's sycophancy.
Yes, not leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership is when you are actually there to serve. Service is really what constitutes leadership, not being worshipped, not enjoying people having to beg from you, not enjoying people coming and speak to you sort of, in a very meek manner and so on. That's what I call service.
Yeah. Professor, can we still dream even in the worst of times? Is that the bottom line with this book? Can we still dream in the worst of times?
Yeah, we have to dream. Even the worst of times or best of times, we have to dream, because we must always, what's great about human beings, or even we can learn from our own history. Imagine an ordinary man and woman in Kenya in 1940 or after the Second World War saying to themselves, we can fight against this machine, this military machine that has defeated Hitler. But we can, with our own, we can fight against them because we are fighting for justice and so on. So what sustained them really is because they dreamt, they looked to the future. When they sang of their children, so they all sang about tomorrow, about the future, and so on. Okay, so dreams are very, very important. They sustain us. They're the ones that make us picture a different possibility, a different future.
Yes.
And quite frankly, no matter who you are, even if today you are going without clothes, or the dream is very, very important, because the dream is what sustains you, is what will make you, break through.
Do you ever dream of coming back home, Prof?
Oh, of course, always. But my dream, how do I realize my dream?
By writing.
By writing about home. This beautiful land, it's really wonderful.
Yes.
Always being back in Kenya, but I never forget,
But you never
Kenya.
left home in the mind.
No,
You
I
never
don't.
left home.
Home, Kenya is always with me.
Yes.
And that's why, by the way, also I'm a great advocate of African languages. And what I like, the section I like best about the new constitution is the fact that the government is supposed to do something about African languages.
Yes.
The fact that Kiswahili has now got its proper place in our vision, that's very, very good. But we need to do something more about African languages in general, so they occupy, a prideful place. I always say this. Now, I know Kenyans might wonder, but I have asked myself, who is, people from here will say I'm Ngũgĩ or I'm Luo, but who is a Luo, who is a Kikuyu? A Kikuyu is the one who has Kikuyu language as his primary language. Is he who speaks and works in Kikuyu, although he may know other languages like English and French and so on, but who is a Luo is the one who speaks Luo, who takes Luo, as his primary language or his mother tongue. Okay, he may know other languages, including English and Kiswahili and French and so on, but language is the one which defines who a people are. So if you don't speak Kikuyu,
Yes.
if you don't teach your children Kikuyu, then you cannot say you are Kikuyu. If you don't speak, you don't teach yourself, you don't teach, you don't speak, say, Kalenjin language, or you don't speak Kimasai, and you don't teach yourself Kimasai, then you know, why can you go and say you are Masai?
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah. Do your children speak Kikuyu?
Yes, they do.
Even
All of them.
even in America.
America, they do
Oh.
very well. In
Right.
fact, yeah.
When can we expect
Yeah,
part 2?
yeah. Probably next year. Yeah.
You'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Great to see you,
Okay,
bro.
thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
You're a hero.
Okay. Thank you
You're a
very
hero.
much. Yeah.
Well done.
Kenyan people are the real the
How old
heroes.
are you now?
Huh?
How old are you now?
Now, only 73.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Professor Ngũgĩ Thiong'o. Dreams in a time of war. Pick it up. Yeah, textbook, you name it. Go, pick it up. You'll love it. Great read, but it's only part 1. Part 2 coming up soon. This man keeps getting better with age. He's like fine wine. And he says about the Constitution, it's the same way. Gets better with age. What a guest. What a show. What a hero. Ngũgĩ Thiong'o, who's written so many books now, writes about himself. You cannot find these kinds of guests anywhere else but right here on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24, where we are. Even in dreams in a time of war, we are all Kenyan.
All the time.
Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.